This is a tale of adventure and grandeur. It begins in the continent of Ursel, far in the west.
Oh, that's disgusting!
What is it now, Francis? We literally just started.
And you're starting my origin story in the bathroom! No one wants to know what's going on between Ursel and the toilet seat!
What? No! I said in the continent, not incontinent. Okay, I'll start over. In the land of Ursel, far off in the west, stands the great city of Azeron, home to roughly 2 million residents and a place famous for rune magics and resources. But after years of political turmoil with neighboring countries, Azeron's hierarchy came to some drastic decisions. They began with
Now you're telling it like it's some boring history lesson of a Greek tragedy. Let me take it from here, big guy.
Fine, I didn't want to do this anyway.
Righty then. There were travel regulations, curfews, all that strict stuff. And things only got worse for them when a civil war broke out with a barbaric orc tribe. Let me skip ahead a few chapters where Azeron came out victorious, but in the battle their city lord had been hit with a forest load of arrows. And then he was squashed with a boulder for good measure. I mean, talk about overkill. And the next in line to be Lord, well, he had just grown out of his diapers. The boy was underprepared and was easily influenced by those spineless bureaucrats. With them whispering in his ear and pressure from other countries, the young Lord came to a proclamation, and a stupid one at that, to cut off Azeron from the rest of the world, isolating the great city, and placing her citizens under a strict rule that was meant to protect them, but in actuality was just making the rich richer and the poor, well, you get the picture. Now, I was born just a few years after these events, and by that time, there was enough to eat, there was enough to do, the people were content, but not me. Even as a boy, I had this itch for adventure. For whatever was over that 20-foot wall circling around our city. Even if it was just endless miles of nothingness, I wanted to see it. After all, I am the grandson of a war hero, Francine the Full Metal Maiden. She has quite the reputation. And not just in Azeron, but pretty much everywhere. She fought battles in 4 different countries. She once slayed 5 dragons in the span of 3 days. Why, for that alone, they put up a statue of her in the town square. Well, it was there at least. You see, during the Orc Civil War, she kinda disobeyed orders and went after the enemy. But then she led her battalion to an ambush, and when the Lord came to aid her with his forces, well, that was when he became a human pincushion. A few hours later, Francine had lost her foot in the battle. And then when it finally ended a few days later, Francine had lost all ranking status and privileges. It was only through her long years of servitude to the noble family was she granted some form of amnesty. But when the borders began closing, Francine went from the pride of Azeron to the city's pariah. Rioters had even torn down her statue at the central square. And yet despite all of that, she has been a right bang-on amazing granny, supporting me to the best of her ability, and had even taught me some very useful skills like table manners, crocheting, how to swing a sword, how to shoot an arrow. Now, I suppose most grannies wouldn't let 8-year-olds handle real weaponry, but I assure you, that is not how I got these scars. Now, for much of my youth, I had tried all sorts of schemes of getting out of the city, from digging a tunnel to scaling the walls. The point is, I was never the type to give up, even when I was being ostracized for my ideals. Unfortunately, my community had grown to a point where they wanted nothing to do with the outside world. I had to fight naysayers, hoodlums, and everything else in between. Then one day I came back home with a bruise on my cheek and a fistful of teeth. Some were mine, some weren't. That was when my granny sat me down. She started with a tongue lashing of how stupid I was, and then said that it's okay to stand up for myself so long as I don't choose pride over honor. But that made me raise an eyebrow and ask, aren't they basically the same thing? She then tapped her peg leg 3 times and said, honor is where you are focused on others. Pride is where you are focused on yourself. Now the key is not choosing one over the other, but to find balance between the two. Right now your pride is getting you into trouble, but if you go with no pride whatsoever, then people will walk all over you.
Oh, come on, that can't be what she sounds like. Work on your voice acting.
Will you get out of here? Now, as she said that, I looked past her and saw her shattered weapon hanging over the fireplace. It was a magic-imbued bow that she had used in her ventures. A once beautiful contraption, able to fire an assortment of enchanted arrows, such as exploding, zapping, stink bombing. Don't know why she named that last one, but anyway. When the noble family had stripped her of all ranking status, they had also destroyed her weapon just to add that tad bit of humiliation. Oh, thinking about it makes my blood boil. My granny's pep talk went on a bit longer as she was patching me up, but I may have forgotten most of it after a bowl of stew and a good night's sleep. Let me skip ahead a few months later. Then came a day that I could never forget. Early that morning, I had came to the woodlands to do a bit of hunting with my crossbow. That was when I saw something, a red streak that shot through the sky like a lightning bolt. With how fast it was, I initially thought it was a trick of the light. Then came an ear-piercing roar. I looked up and saw at the top of the city wall, fighting with 24 guards, was a Draconis Sky Scorcher, a red serpent-like creature with 4 horns and large orange wings. My grandmother slayed one back in her heyday. They are rare as they are powerful. And this one was twisting and weaving around the guards like a ribbon. In a backspin, it swung its tail, batting away the nearest guard. It then sank its fangs into a man's armor, tearing off his breastplate and sending him crashing into oncoming soldiers. The fight went on like that for a few minutes, until a guard managed to slice a gash into the creature's wing. Its body scraped across the 20-foot wall as it came crashing down to the forest. Later, I found the thing lying on the ground, motionless, but clearly breathing. I had my crossbow in hand, so I thought with one shot, I'd be upholding my grandmother's legacy and earning the respect of my community. But when I looked at the bleeding cuts along the creature's body, I noticed its claws and fangs were clean. Where it had been fighting for its life, it hadn't killed a single guard. I remember reading about somewhere that the Sky Scourgers can be gentle and intelligent creatures, while I know for a fact that the undisciplined city guard tend to start more fights than they finish. And so, ignoring all logic and reason, I followed my gut and dragged that creature by the end of its tail, until I had found a ditch deep enough to stash the overgrown worm. I made sure to bury it with sticks and leaves to blend in with the nearby foliage. Thankfully, the city guards are not the sharpest tools in the shed. When I later told my granny, it didn't take much convincing for her help to nurse the creature back to health. In fact, she was weirdly enthusiastic about it. I didn't realize why till 3 days later, when the creature was fully healed and had grown rather friendly towards us, acting more like a stray cat rather than a 16-foot dragon. That was when my granny brought me bags filled with clothes, dry food, gear, even the remains of her magic bow. She said even though I'm soft in the head, I had good instincts and a strong heart. I was ready. And so we hugged each other in a teary-eyed goodbye. I then leapt on the Sky Scorcher's back and flew out of the city. I gotta say, riding such a powerful creature was so exhilarating. Although I wouldn't recommend bareback, I couldn't sit right for a week. I wish I could have spent longer with the Sky Scorcher, but it had to return to its own kind, and I had my own adventure to do. I first sought after this master craftsman who can repair magic items. Instead, I got stuck with Zumari.
Hey, I made that broken toothpick of a weapon into a one-of-a-kind crossbow, able to fire 3 different magic bolts with fury and fashion. I'd also sold you that longsword at half price.
And I'd used both of them to slay the twin-tailed jungle fiend that was threatening your village. Later on in my ventures, I had seen the floating cliffs of Balhu, spoke with the merfolk of the Coral Kingdom, battled with the desert kraken of Gatos. I have seen and catalogued more dragons than you can...
Back again. With some design notes this time. Now, originally, I was just gonna draw Francis, the dragon, and the other guy. But when I finished 2 of the 3, I was running low on inspiration, so I shelved this piece and went to work on other designs. And by the time I got back to this one, I was already pushing myself creatively with all these big multi-character designs in like a movie poster style. Not to toot my own horn. But also, this is kind of a design update. I had first drawn the Dragon Nerd back in December 2022. I mean, it's good, but my skills have really progressed since then, so here you go. Now, I gotta say, this picture really brings out... No, wait, let me add the finishing touches. There. Oh, you son of a...
Ha ha ha. I hope you enjoyed the character and backstory reveal of this channel's dragon narrator. And if you want to see more of him, then suggest whatever characters you think would make cool looking dragons. I am planning to do a sequel for Pokemon as Chimeras, and currently open to suggestions. But if you want some creature designs right now, I got the Monster Mania playlist right next to the Splatoon fan art reaction video. Now that's all the time we got. This is Galahound19, wishing you all an awesome day, and reminding you to like and subscribe.